Hear what? What? Did it say recording in progress? Oh. Yeah, that's the way it was. Okay, well, we'll get started.
Sneaking up on us.
We will just go ahead and start. Good afternoon. This is a meeting of the Story County Board of Supervisors, work session, the Story County Board of Supervisors. Today is October 17, 2022. With us, do I need to go through the list? With us is Sandra King, Alyssa Wignall, and Lisa Markley, and Leanne Harder. Leanne, are you gonna come up to the microphone, or does your microphone work over there? Okay, well, we'll start with updates from previous meeting. Does it work? Okay, good. Do you have any updates from the previous meeting that you would like to share, either of you?
I can just say on transportation, we actually have our HERDA meeting on Thursday. This morning, I participated in the HERDA collaboration committee. And they just talked about that It's For Us grant they have, that they were awarded phase 2. And once they were awarded phase 2, they're automatically awarded phase 3. Yeah, and so that's looking at ridership and different apps and other things. So they were just notified last week. I think they're like 1 in 5 in the country that were awarded this program. And that's the one where they're doing that pilot study that'll take a few years to do yet. They also switched over to this new app program. And you know, like anything, when you start something new, you work out a few little kinks once it comes in. So they are continuing to work on that. But as far as additional transportation, we are actually talking at our next month's meeting, the collaboration on better education and outreach and figuring out how folks, we've got Kaylin Peterson with RSVP on board as well. To really look at that, and both talked about a little bit on the struggles of just staffing. You know, they're HERDA now has another dispatcher, but it's, you know, having enough drivers for it. And I know RSVP is dealing with some of that as well. So hopefully when we have another meeting, I'll have more after next month's meeting.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Okay, broadband. Greg Picklop from the Chamber, and I have been meeting with several people. I've also participated in a webinar on the infrastructure bill through the Chamber of Commerce. And we have met with the USDA's Rural Development Director for Iowa to talk about the Reconnect 4 or 5 it will be program. That'll be next spring that there will be grant applications. The Commerce Department money is coming to the OCIO at the state of Iowa to do statewide planning. And the goal, as I understand it, is that the states get 100 billion each, and that's just a baseline. And then there will be more, but they have to do a plan to use this money for having broadband throughout their state. And then whatever money they don't use for the planning will come out for implementation. So we've got 2 good opportunities there that we're needing to plan for. Going to be meeting with somebody from MIPA this Friday to determine how they might be able to help us in doing a grant application for Story County. I also met with Dr. Zhang at Iowa State and have some leads there on some possible service providers if we're looking at something in addition to fiber, possibly satellite. And I need to connect back with our fiber providers also to see what their timelines are with their plans and if they've changed anywhere they're intending to go. So there's a whole lot there. There are a lot of new technologies coming out, which I think will be very helpful. We're getting into the more remote areas of the county where it may be too costly to lay fiber. And there's a lot of satellite potential there. And I really, in talking to Dr. Zhang, I was just getting the idea that it's not going to be like electric, rural electric, where we have one thing happening and that covers the whole area. There are going to be a whole bunch of different applications that will be more cost effective for the more rural areas. and still provide the bandwidth that people need. So I'm really excited about it. I think we've got a whole lot of potential. We will need a grant match. Or we'll need money for MIPA to write the grant applications, and I'll know more after Friday about how much that might cost us. But I think that's the way to go, because I just think we need to get the most competitive grants possible out there. And I think working with MIPA, that's why we joined MIPA. That's why it was set up. So I'm looking forward to talking with them. No, it's not Friday, excuse me. It got changed. It's Wednesday. We have a meeting.
Oh,
So, yeah, it got moved up just this morning. So, very much, I think we still will need, we might need some match on grants. I don't know what that will be now. It depends on what we're asking for, what the full amount is. So I can't tell you that, but I think from the ARPA funds we have available, if we can at some point carve out some money to get these grants written, I think that will really help us get Story County covered.
It would be interesting to know if the OCIO is, from the OCIO, if there's going to be like a statewide committee, regional committee, or some like involved in the planning.
I don't know that, and I can check on that. What they're going to do, though, in terms of where funds will be directed, is they're going to look at that new map. Remember, their FCC and OCIO are both working on new maps, and they've got their challenge data done, and I've got the pre-challenge numbers. And I think they're probably higher than what we actually have. But at the same time, there's a whole lot of numbers out there. And I talked to Dr. Zhang the other day. I said, what's the number? I said, Story County, what's unserved? He said, there's so many numbers out there. We don't really know right now until we get the OCIO map and the FCC map. We get the new maps. We really don't know. But what we do know is, because what we've done this last couple of years, this last year with the ARPA money, in a couple of years, it's going to be better than whatever it is right now. So, and I will follow up on just how the OCIO is going to do that planning and see what I can figure out from that. Cool. Thank you.
One of the things you asked me to look at was food last time, and I did reach out to Jean Cressy to find out how the food banks and how they were doing. She said in general, they are seeing an increase in the number of visitors. This started when the state federal supports kind of faded away. And added the Food Bank of Iowa. She said where they purchase food from is low from some of their general pantry items. They still have some money with their grants and the money that we gave them through ARPA to help with that. And there were a couple of grant requests from the Nevada cupboard that was and the Salvation Army specific to like their holiday food baskets or to restock some bare shelving. She did say that she would get back to us if funding needs were rise, or I said I would just kind of reconnect with her again. But right now they do have some money to help support that.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to talk about as it relates to food was whether we should reach out to the schools and find out if they were needing any. I haven't reached out to anybody yet, but if the schools are needing any assistance now that the funding has been cut for everyone to have lunch with food prices going up. And
That's
everything.
a good idea.
I think some of the schools were continuing to do some of that. They're figuring out a way to do that. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, checking out with them.
I mean, I'm happy to make phone calls. I'm happy to do that and just kind of gauge where the schools are at, but I didn't want to do that till we had a larger conversation. The guidelines, as far as I know, they're the same. Do you know, Leanne? Yeah. Okay. Leanne, did you want to talk about housing action plan? Or was there anything else did anybody else want to talk about? Priority areas?
Just on food, just mainly because I just received an email about this the other day. And this is specific for the Nevada School District. Since the ESSER two funds are now, or the USDA is not, as you just said, funding the lunch programs. As a school district, we did not continue the program. We didn't have enough money to do that. They did an analysis of where our student meal counts are this year.
Student what count?
Meal counts, meals. From last year to when they were free to this year. So at the middle school and high school, the numbers are very similar, are similar. The elementary is down 3,300 meals, and that's kids bringing their lunch. And I'll tell you, for me, as a school board member, that's a concern because we don't actually know the quality of lunches they're bringing. That's just one local school district at the younger age too.
Interesting.
Yeah, we just got that email. I'd asked them to look into that, and I thought it'd be higher at the middle school and high school too.
3,000 fewer?
3,000 fewer eating lunch from school provided lunch, buying lunch through school.
What's the total number?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Total number of lunches served?
Yeah, the total,
I don't know.
okay.
I can find that out.
Yeah, a percentage would be useful.
Yeah. Housing action plan? Is
Yeah.
that where you want to go? I did provide to the board the proposal that was received, just for some background information. As everyone knows, but again, we'll reiterate, we did go out for proposals with a request for proposal a few weeks ago. We received one back, one respondent, and that was the Des Moines area MPO. I wasn't actually surprised that we only received one. There's not a large number of individuals that would like do this level of service. I expected maybe one or two, to be candid. As you saw, they are over budget, at least over what the preliminary number was that I presented to the board of supervisors. Just as background, again, that number of $150,000 was roughly based on the contracts we have with the Ames Economic Development Commission and their monthly, kind of try to break down what their monthly costs are, non-apples to apples comparison by any means, but I just wanted a starting point. So they are over the $150,000. I do, just from some conversations I've had, I think there is opportunity for us to work with the Des Moines MPO and reduce that cost. I think now that they have a better understanding of where Story County is approaching some of the issues from, the numbers may be flexible. In response to staff questions, we did ask them to provide how they broke down or how they identified tools as years 1, 2, and 3 in the initial proposal. That was not clear. And so they did that. And I think with that, we can have conversations to really ascertain what a total could be for year 1, 2, and 3. So I wanted to, rather than just putting this on your board's agenda for a yay or nay deliberation and decision, I talked to Latifa and asked whether it would be appropriate to bring it to the work session. Because again, it was above that $150,000 mark. And then just, is this the approach we want to go down? And do you want staff to work with them and try and find more comparable middle ground? Is this fading in and out?
It is fading in and out.
Okay.
It was doing that last Tuesday too. That mic was.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was, I'm like, is that my voice doing that? And because I don't have a really strong voice today. The timing for me is a concern. I would really like to get a contract signed or at least approach defined and underway before the end of this calendar year. We really need to be making momentum, and there is a momentum that we can build on to. There are some other alternatives to talk about. You know, we could look at, we could, as an entity, the board could reject the proposals and have staff go back out again. I would imagine that the same group would respond again. We could look at other solutions potentially, whether it's staffing in-house or just the entire approach we've looked at. I do have some concerns, as I said, with the timing. And I think this is a more solid approach and gets us at least for 3 years, a resource that we can go to. And especially as we see some of the federal guidelines changing as well, kind of on a day-to-day basis. Needs are not changing, needs are increasing. I guess needs are changing if you say it that way. What questions do you have of me?
Remind me of the timeline. Was it going to be a 3-year project?
Mhm.
And you did a good job when you did the action plan of saying, here are the front-loaded things, here are the things that are later. I'm wondering, yeah. I guess I'm wondering if it could be done in a little shorter time. And if there are some action steps that maybe we'd say they're lower priorities. And that might reduce the cost. Is that part of what you think you might be able to discuss?
I think now that they've again defined what that year 1 and 2 and 3 are, helps me and I'll come back to that in a second. I do want to thank Sandra and Amelia too. They helped score the proposal and draft the RFP and everything too. I'm sorry, I had that written down and that escaped me. But it will help understand a little bit more of their approach. And that was not clear. And I think we might be able to say, because as you know, in their action plan, we showed relational items. Maybe this one, which you've listed in year 3, really goes hand in hand with this one, year 1. Let's just do it all year 1. And I think they understand it's not we're going to do this and go on to the next one, do this and that's, we're going to tackle many at one time. But it's a matter of prioritizing what those many may be.
And you know the plan lots better than any of the 3 of us do, obviously, because you wrote it. So I think you're the person to talk with them about that. I'm very comfortable with you having some more discussion with them and seeing what we can come up with.
Is that kind of the plan, Leanne, is to further have them kind of relook at this? See if the dollar amount can be reduced down and then bring it towards the board?
I don't think they'll be all the way down to $150,000. And that was my really best guess, trying to find something comparable to use. And ideally it would be that, because we could use the funding for other stuff, but the need is there. And later on, I'm going to be updating you on something we may not be needing funding for. So there's additional funding that may be there. So if that is the approach that the board would like to go down, I will set some time and talk to the respondents this week and then really try to get ready for next week's board agenda, especially knowing that there's no meeting on November 1st. Okay. And I didn't know if you had any questions for Sandra or Amelia either, since they reviewed the proposals too, the proposal as well. Or if you had anything you wanted to add. Okay.
I appreciated you doing the follow-up questions. Getting those answers before we look at it. Those were helpful.
And Sandra really did draft a lot of them.
Good work. Thank you.
Yep. Saved a lot of time here. Here. Okay, so we'll just wait to hear back from you on how things are going with that discussion. with NPO.
I guess I will ask the three, if you saw something, I probably will not be able to meet with them until Wednesday, just knowing everyone's schedule. If you did see something that you wanted me to delve into further beyond those questions, if you could let me know maybe by tomorrow at noon, then I could add them
Mhm.
and help them prepare to be able to respond as well.
Okay. Okay, moving on to ARPA program management.
So I'm gonna start with I'm calling it a working draft quarterly report. Mainly, this is the first time you will have seen this format. Is it something, my approach that I hope to do is to, after the end of each quarter, and I've finished spreadsheets for Lisa, that will be the top priority. So that she can get everything uploaded to the US Treasury. There are additional performance measures, additional information that does not go on to the US Treasury. That is beneficial for the board to know and for all of us to know where the projects are. My plan has been to do that and then do a quarterly report like this, and then bring it formally to the board, like that mid of the month after those reports are due. So that's why I'm calling this a working draft, to see if this format is something that's workable, if that approach makes sense. And then I wanted to use this just as an opportunity to update you where we are on some items, because we are coming to a critical couple of weeks. I'll explain on that right now. I feel like I piqued interest.
What did we miss?
This week and next week are the 90 days for some of our subrecipients to get contracts to us. As you read, if you read through this and noticed, there are some that have not taken action, I've not received anything. I have received signed contracts from some, they just don't have their sam.gov done yet. So that would be Slater and Colo. Because they've signed it, I think they've met their 90 days in which to return it. So I can hold on to theirs. I just will not bring it to the board. I have, however, not received the contracts back from City of Cambridge, City of Huxley, and then Home Allies. And then the City of Ames is not in that same 90-day window. So I haven't forgotten them. They're just not in that first grouping that went out. If you'll recall, they were part of the revenue replacement decisions. We do have a signed contract in my office from the Bridge Home, so they've met that 90-day requirement. We're still trying to address some of the concerns on that as well. So this afternoon, I will reach out and see where those other three are. I think it was three.
Mhm.
And
90 days is up when?
this week,
Oh,
this week
okay.
and next.
So if there's a good reason, can we grant extension on that, or is that our rule or Fed?
I will work with Ethan and find out.
Okay.
Yeah, because we built in some hard deadlines.
Yeah. And at least one of those is a pretty hefty contract. Oh,
Do we know where Slater and Colo are with their sam.gov?
Yeah, Slater, what did she say? Polo had to resubmit an affidavit that they were the city of Colo.
Oh,
And I think Slater had to do something similar. They're, I think I saw them both in the system last week. Hold on, I can answer my own question. I'm sorry, if I don't look at a piece of paper, I'm not gonna give you the right answer.
Again, we didn't receive Cambridge, Huxley, Home Allies, and also Slater.
No, we've got Slater. Slater does not have their.
Okay, this one says
SAM.gov.
contract status not received from subrecipient.
Slater?
Number 20, are you talking about the wastewater?
Yeah, I now have it since I did that report.
Oh, so we can cross out that. Okay, so
Yeah, I
number
will
20, we
update
have received the contract. So it's pending approval by Board of Supervisors.
They don't have their SAM.gov yet.
Got it. Okay, yeah.
It's
The copy I
Home
had said it was not received, so.
It's Home Allies,
And Home Allies, okay.
Huxley, and Cambridge are the
Mhm.
three that I don't have any contracts from. Yeah, Slater was the same. She had one more piece of paper to submit that I think they'd done like 3 times.
And then the three that we don't have contracts for, do they have their SAM.gov?
Home Allies does, and, their 90 days is up on Thursday. Huxley has their SAM.gov and, what's the other one?
Cambridge.
Cambridge. Yeah, Cambridge. Can I just stop right and talk about Cambridge real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Cambridge does not have their SAM.gov to my knowledge. And Cambridge did not file their yearly report with the US Treasury.
We know that for sure.
We find no evidence that they filed their yearly report. Greg and I are both digging into it, I asked the city clerk last Thursday to find out more information. They're in between city clerks, or they have a new city clerk on board.
Mhm.
And so she was going to talk to the former city clerk that afternoon. I've not heard back from them.
I think, doesn't Huxley have a new city clerk as well?
No, Jolene is still there. They're in the process of hiring a new city manager.
Okay,
And I think Huxley might be on tomorrow night's agenda.
gotcha.
I know she was trying to get resolution language. Huxley is probably the one I'm least worried about,
Yep.
even with staff transition. At least one of them did mention some funding that they were counting on had fallen through. And the individual had some potential revisions to the contracts. I was caught off guard at the Economic Development Summit last week and speaking with that individual.
Okay.
And so I asked her to call me this week.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
So you'll have more information for us after.
Yeah.
After that.
I hope. Oh, Ziering, I have their contract in here. Yeah, thank you. Ziering does not have SAM.gov. But I have Ziering's contract in here.
Do we know where they're at with that?
They have been working with Feenstra's office.
They have.
She was here. Slater, Colo, and Ziering all came to the meeting with Feenstra's office.
Good.
Anne's been working with them. Ziering they did file their report with the US Treasury.
And so clearly they're still planning to move forward with the project.
I haven't been told any different from the city of Zering. I've heard from others that they would like to use it in a different manner.
Hmm.
Nice. I responded as you probably would like me to and say that would not be possible without a conversation with supervisors. They're really not
Yeah.
too open to amending contracts and approaches.
So the three, we've not received contracts back for about $800,000. A little over that.
I honestly haven't done the math. If you did the
I just
math.
did 'em.
Yeah.
And the ones that have not done sam.gov, are they trying? Do you
Oh,
have
yeah.
a sense that they will be able to get that? And did we have the same deadline on them getting onto sam.gov, or it's just that it's got to be done?
They have to have the sam.gov done before I'll bring it to the board's agenda,
Ah, gotcha.
which I've had like Whistle Stop Academy sitting in my office probably since the week after they went out, and they just got the sam.gov finished a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
So what I tried to do is, the subrecipients get a quarterly report. And part of that is answering the questions that are necessary for the US Treasury. And then if the board established additional performance measures, they have to respond to those as well. So a lot of the contracts either were just signed in the last part of September, or even August, and they had never started the project. I didn't even bother asking them about performance measures because I knew they had started the project. Last quarter, we only had 2 projects draw down any funds. That was the City of Collins and Ames Chamber of Commerce Foundation. I do have a claim here now for a Boys and Girls Club. I'm expecting a lot more claims to be coming through now that people are hiring staff and getting projects up and going. But that's why you see in a lot of cases, I did not even ask them to do the performance measures because I knew they hadn't done anything. Those I had a sense that had done something, I did ask them though. I did get reports from everyone now. This is not updated. I do have access to the report. I'm going to share with the board. I had 2 entities not respond timely. That was Good Neighbor and Access. I've let them know it will be one time and one time only. And this time was one that fortunately didn't matter. Beyond this, it will matter. Yeah, Lisa has a lot to upload. And this is just the external part of things. Is this the way I wrote this up? Is this okay for you? I mean, I'll keep the same format every quarter. I'll then save them in the same location on the S drive so you can go back and see the historical.
I like it. I like how you laid it out.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's really good. Then stepping stones will come off the list.
Stepping Stones and City of Nevada.
And
Both of
Nevada,
those will
so
come
that's
off.
another.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's another 120 and 50. That's another 170.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I actually went to go find something. I'm like, oh, she took it off already. So I hope to put this on next Tuesday's agenda. I will leave Stepping Stones on and Nevada though, because they're reflective of last quarter. And I will add Access in and fix, actually, no, at the time that this was drafted, I had not received those contracts. So I will leave it as it was then too.
Right, to reflect.
Mhm. Because this would have been through October 31st, I mean, September 30th. I'm already looking forward ahead. And then if you look at the last page, this is an upcoming list. A general up, beyond just the reporting, just general items I've tackled this quarter, and then it's kind of a to-do list of things to upcoming. I'm going to talk about the solution for the software. I would like to actually not pursue purchasing anything because it's exorbitant.
Exorbitant.
It's exorbitant. I cannot, in all, when there's so much need, I can't say, yes, let's spend, I forget what it was, $300,000 for a software solution.
Wow.
It's,
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
so I have some solutions in mind, and when I'm working on them, you might just want to avoid me. Because we'll use the Access database. I already have it built. I'll ask Matt Corey if he could help me do some of the other customization. We have Civic Plus, the form center. I can use that and create a form unique for every subrecipient, like I did with the Coop Cog. So every subrecipient will have their own, they'll have their own performance measures. Monthly, or quarterly, I can email them the link. When they finish it, it'll come right to my email. I actually think using Civic Plus, I can set a reminder in there too. Yeah, it's just gonna take some little time, but Leanne will do it.
Well, we're lucky to have your experience and your expertise with these to do that. And thank you for saying this might be a better solution than spending all that money on it. What we would only use for a couple of years.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like knowing that it's a grant management software that they've tailored for ARPA, so maybe it could be retailored, but we're not there that we need that level of grant management software going forward. So, and thank everyone that did work, the webinars, whatever, to look at it too. I mean, it's snazzy. That's awesome. But I think I have a solution.
Well, thank you.
How
And
much had we budgeted for that? Are we holding for the software? Do you recall?
we just talked about as part of the administrative costs that would fit.
Oh,
in.
okay. Didn't have a.
Because at that point, when I brought it to you, I didn't know. I'm sure there's some, I got an inquiry today. I'm sure there's cheaper packages coming out too, and we're already far enough in that it'd be more work now to go back, I think. Yeah, and thank you for saying expertise. It's called YouTube.
Well, you know where to find what the information you need.
It's called Google.
Google.
I've also been working on finalizing the standard operating procedures. I think they're on the S drive. If not, I need to put them there once they get finalized. It's really if I were to leave, or like the proverbial get hit by the bus, someone has the historical knowledge or the knowledge to take what I've been doing and keep on going with it. I did share the working drafts with the state auditor's office, so that they had those for their reviews. And then I have a couple more that I need to do as well. But one is just how did we go through selecting applications, and then one, how are we monitoring? And that is really kind of what guides me for the next, 4 years or whatever. I did some updates to the website, and now I'm going to be adding more updates to the website. And then I will be starting to schedule going out to meet with the subrecipients in person, now that they're getting signed contracts. And so I will be in and out of the office doing that. Any questions?
Thanks for all your hard work, Leanne.
Oh, you're welcome. I've learned quite a bit, and I continue to learn. Then I think I know it. I'm like, well, crap, that was not, I think we talked about that last week. I'm like, I had that in my head one way, and I knew it was not that way, and yet I had it that way.
Is Treasury still giving new guidance or new regulations, or have they just stopped?
What was it? Was it September 26th that it came out?
I got an email today.
Oh,
good.
no.
Oh, you got one today.
September 23rd, they said.
Thanks. I think it looks like it's on. It's red.
There.
Yeah,
Green.
green. Oh,
On September 23rd, we got a letter saying that after Monday, October 17th, today's date, Treasury Contact Center will no longer be able to respond to phone calls.
oh, that's wonderful.
Very,
In
res-
addition, starting later this month, Treasury will be forced to further ramp down staff support for the contact center. And as a result, response times to recipient emails are expected to be significantly delayed. I still haven't gotten a response from my question
So
back in December. so
We're not gonna answer the phones and we
No.
may never answer your email either.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, right. Now they're just putting it in writing.
interesting.
Well,
Hang on to that.
printed. So they're blaming, whatever. They're saying that they don't have enough staff to do it.
They don't have enough staff to
Right.
help people
Correct,
do the program that they said would be easy.
correct. Isn't that how you gathered it?
Yes.
Did you read it too?
Wow.
They're facing constraints that will put our ability to continue this level of support to recipients at risk, blah, blah, blah.
Mm,
Like I said, I found it frustrating at best because they didn't respond anyway. But to answer the original question, do they have new guidelines out? No, but they did highlight all the guidelines that they have and how they're also helpful.
That's handy.
They did also come out with last week, the local assistance and tribal consistency fund that you both saw that NACO had
mhm,
sent out that Story County would receive $50,000
yeah.
now, and then another $50,000 a year later. We don't have to draw them down till January of 2023. I think that's correct. Isn't that what we
I
figured out?
cannot find where there's a deadline on that. Honestly, all funds are available to recipients until expended or returned to the treasury. Recipients are required to continue submitting annual compliance reports until all funds are expended.
Well, it says the
I have
deadline,
not
the
found a
deadline for
deadline.
counties to apply through the online portal is January 31, 2023. It's the last page of this document.
Well, yeah,
That's
to
the deadline
get the
to-
funds.
Right, to get the funds, right.
But as far as spending them, you just do a quarterly report or you do an annual report until they're spent, period,
Right.
end of conversation.
Right, right. I read through some of
That's
the.
nice.
And what can we spend it on?
So it's, again, kind of governmental services such as health services, education, public safety, social services, economic development. Under capital expenditures, kind of similar to what we have, health, education, public safety, government buildings, housing. Transportation could go towards roads, bridges, airports, public transit, water, sewer, technology development. Could be a non-federal match for cost sharing requirements. So we have with that. The email we got said that there had been a webinar, but I didn't see anything with a webinar. So I did email, and I don't know if you did, Leanne, I emailed Jamie to see if there's a webinar and if it was recorded.
There, it's on, there is a webinar.
Is it on?
Yeah,
It's
on
on the
the
NACO
NACO
site?
yeah.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah,
will
you have
watch,
to,
I
like-
will watch
Yeah.
that. So yeah, so I'll watch that and find out more
Does what you've seen so far give a deadline?
as to when they have to be done.
Yes.
Well, we have to report it out for like 8 years, 7, 8 years or.
Yeah. Reporting period goes through December 31st of 2027.
27, yeah.
So that's probably when we have to have it spent by.
It's me. Doesn't
Yeah,
talk
actually
about the
submission deadline is by March of 2028. So it would be through that last quarter of January 1, 2027 through December 31st of 2027. But then it's due by March of.
Says, as a general matter, recipients may use funds to cover costs incurred on any eligible use, including costs incurred from March 15th of 2021. It's very open.
It
It's
is.
also not, it's not, doesn't qualify for single audit, so the guidelines are not as strict on, obviously you have to use it for, you have to set your standard as everything else, public service.
Right,
Mhm.
Okay.
right. I'll watch that.
And I briefly talked to Lisa about it the other day and she caught me when I was this deep in mail and not focusing on this, because I'm like, we don't have to draw down the money until January of 22. Or 23. I don't know why we would get all uptight about drawing it down immediately. I don't know if I need a separate fund. I don't need,
Right. We
I don't
have
know
any
what I need.
real
I have
information.
nothing. I have nothing. And I love this one sentence in here.
Tribal consistency, is that what the C is?
It says,
What page?
so on reporting, it talks about reporting deadlines. March 31st of every year until it's received, until the recipient has submitted its final report accounting of expenditures. Recipients are required to continue submitting annual report until the entire award is expended and accounted for in their submitted reports, and will be required to indicate when their final report is being submitted. After verifying that all obligation expenditures have been reported, Treasury will send notice to the recipient confirming that no additional reports are required. Treasury may provide additional closeout guidelines at that date,
Thanks.
At that
at a
date,
later date, excuse me. At a
we'll,
later-
we'll tell you what you should have done if
Right.
you had read our
Yeah.
minds.
Amen.
Right.
Good Lord, why are we eligible for this?
So there's 23 or 25 counties that are eligible for it, and it has to do with federal land in our county.
Yeah.
It's not the Army Corps of Engineers. land.
Well, that's what I told Lisa, first thing I said, let's just use it on that. That's easy. If we can get that finished and finalized.
But is that why, is that part, that's.
I think, yes, federal land, yes.
That's what when I,
We get like less than $400 a year for payment in lieu of taxes for federal
okay,
land
we get that.
that we
okay.
have.
That's why.
So that is why we're getting it. And
Okay.
we're one of over, like I said, I think 23 counties I counted in Iowa. And we get the floor of 50,000. There were some counties that had enough land that they did the multipliers and they got more money.
So we get 50,000 twice.
Mhm.
Right.
And I need to
Hmm.
look. I didn't look. I told you I would and I haven't looked yet, but I think Mike budgeted some to get that Army Corps stuff taken care of
He's
think
got
so.
something in the
this
budget.
year.
Mhm.
If that's the case, I'm totally on board with saying, you know what? This money can be used toward that and it's off the table.
Well, I'm trying to remember the last update I got.
Yeah,
It
I don't
looked
remember.
promising.
I-
They've promised
Always
for a
seems to
couple
look
of decades.
promising and then there's
couple
something that
decades.
comes up
A
and.
couple
it's cut
decades
back.
ago. when
Decades of promising, yeah. Yeah, so who knows, but. I think we would say,
But
Take your
yes,
money, just give us the land.
my decision to not draw down the dollars yet had basically just a lot to do with,
Where does it go? Yeah.
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 We have until January of 23.
Right.
Let's hold off and do some more research and find out where to put it.
Kind of busy the next 3.
Yeah, kind of.
So,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
no.
It's
But
not
no,
going anywhere, is right.
But we know it's there.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I want to talk a minute if I could about overall positive responses and conversations with the state auditors from your perspective. Did you have very many conversations with them?
I think everyone recognized that this was the easy year.
Mhm.
And I did ask, do I need to have paper copies of everything? And said no. I mean, she said, keep it like this first year, but after that, we can be all digital. Because I'm anticipating everyone's files getting really thick. She seemed that our process looked clearly defined. Nothing that was missing. Yeah, I told her that, you know, we were delayed a little bit on contracts because of SAM.gov and I mean, no red flags that she shared with me at least.
Yeah, I didn't get any red flags either. I will start by saying that we were their first county that they were auditing that actually had to do quarterly reports. None of their other counties that they've started in, or I don't even know, maybe none of their other counties have to do quarterly reports. This is all just as new to them as it is to us.
Mhm.
I gathered from some of the conversations I had that the financial end was going to be more, they would probably pay more attention to the financial portion. Which, documentation, making sure we justify what we're spending.
Mhm.
But I also didn't hear any red flags. The one humorous conversation I had was that, well, and funny enough, that our lead guy had just finished some ARPA training and he gave me the impression that their ARPA training was pretty vague also.
Well, I'm sure they don't have any more information than what we have.
No. So, anyway, the one funny conversation I had with him is what was, well, do you submit, or do you get approval of the quarterly report
Approval.
when you submit it? And I said, well, first of all, there's only two of us that can get on the Treasury site because I didn't want everybody else to have to give up their firstborn to get on. Uh,
Mhm.
And when I explained to him that process, he's like, oh. And I said, and second of all, the report that you see looks nothing like what I'm entering.
Mhm.
It just doesn't. And it's required. So as long as it balances with what we've spent and the board has approved all those claims going into that report, I guess I'm not really clear why you would think I would need to get approval from somebody. So, oh, agreed. Yeah, I guess that's right. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see what they have to say. We're not gonna have our exit until December
Mm.
with them. And I said flat out, I said, I don't want to be 6 months into the year and find out we're doing something wrong.
Right.
So would you at least give me a hint right now before you leave? Which was 2 weeks ago they left. I think they left the first week in November, October. Give me a hint now if there's some issues I need to be working on or we need to be working on. No, can't think of it. Okay. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But, the quarterly reports do get put out there. What we've spent is out there.
Right.
Leanne's quarterly report will
I'll be
Help.
out there. Yeah.
also, so.
I wonder
And-
if he was talking about approval from the feds of the report,
No,
once you file it. No.
no, because you can't submit it if it's incorrect.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, well, if I'm missing anything, there's a check mark there and it won't let me submit it until it's right. Perhaps. I mean, I think I pled my case validly that all I'm doing is reporting what we did in the last quarter and the board's approved all those claims.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the financial. I can say this is what we spent this quarter and it matches our finances, our accounting, so. Anyway, that was my sharing on that.
Well, thank you. No, it's a tremendous amount of work.
I am telling you right now, I hope that they're this easy to do every quarter because, I mean, granted, there's a lot of information that has to go into it, but it didn't give me grief this time.
Good.
I waited like 4 days. to Submit it because I was afraid to submit it and some would come up.
Uh-huh.
Well, don't you think a lot of the columns will be stagnant too?
Yes, yes,
It'll
that's
be-
exactly right. I didn't have to go in and
Mhm. But like the one she'll have to do in January, you'll have
Mhm,
15 more subrecipients to put in there.
right. Yes,
And they're not all the same spreadsheet too. They're all
Mhm.
different ones.
Well, which is why it's so important that their information turned into you on time.
Yeah.
right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, and I try really hard to gather as I pay the vendor, pay the person, make sure I have everything I need to enter it in. So I don't have to wait until I'm going to enter it and then I'm like, oh, I don't have this, this and this. I try to make sure I have it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because like I told Leanne, I'm not entering anything in there until we start. So if we haven't spent any money, those contracts, those subrecipients aren't in there yet.
That makes sense.
I'm not gonna go through that nightmare until I have to.
Right. Right. Okay. And we haven't heard anything from conservation on the status of their grant application for the trails?
I think they said that might take a while.
You know, they did another announcement last week. I think they anticipate one this week.
Announcement of awards?
Destination Iowa, yeah. Maybe it was either this week or next week. I think they're trying to roll them out every week, it seems. One thing a really important piece that I have not tackled yet, that when I have some just good, like a day downtime, I want to work on populating a dashboard online so that the public can see, okay, this is exactly based on expense categories where the funding is going. But like Lisa just said, we only have 2 that we've spent funding on. They've been awarded, but they haven't drawn anything down, so priority has definitely been getting the contracts out and working through that process with everyone. I feel like there's something big we're forgetting.
No? Okay. Upcoming items. Are there any additional upcoming items? All right, we'll move to public comment. No action will be taken based on the requirements of open meetings laws. We'll close public comment. Next meeting date and time. How often do you think we should plan to be meeting?
Things will come up, we should know in a couple months and where we going. We need monthly, we have with us. There's gonna be additional monies.
You want updates during a work session versus a board meeting where we just have discussion?
During a board meeting, and then it seems like we need to have a work session. we can-
Yeah, I was just thinking if Leanne's just giving an update. Yeah, I was just thinking if Leanne's just giving us update on contracts are, maybe it's just better to do during a board. We wouldn't be taking action on it, would just provide some information time. But if we want to have more discussion like this of certain projects that we may be coming up, then we may want to do work. That's what I'm just throwing out there as a
Mhm.
suggestion.
Yeah, me too.
So once a month, it'd probably be under other reports.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as far as another formal work session, we'll just wait and see. And if something comes up, then we'll get something scheduled. Other than that, we'll
Yeah,
just
because the
have
one
it
I'm
on
thinking is Linda may be getting more information on broadband, but we could set a meeting date and her meeting might be the next day after the meeting date, you know,
Right,
it'd
right.
be
Yeah,
better to wait till we have a little bit more and then set a work session.
I agree. Okay. Anything further then for us to discuss right now?
And mine is December 2019. When is it we have to have all the allocation that's made? December
2024.
And spent by 26, so there's no.
Right. Right.
All the contracts were that, I don't have the exact date, but by June 2024, the subrecipients need to, if they've not spent down all the funding, give us a plan.
That gives you 6 months to be able to do anything that doesn't go, it's gonna go.
Mhm.
But now, with everything that I was kind of adding up.
Let's see.
98, 200 potential. Moving the two of the general, moving one general fund. Data out. For that we don't have contracts that long.
I thought, okay.
And taking the beta out and moving stepping stones to general fund is another 170, so it's 988,000. Close to $1 million. Some of it is a compliment. Some of it is
Mhm.
an
Mhm.
Yeah, I would venture guess, except for maybe one community, we'll get all the contracts in.
But there may be others that come up. It's just keeping track of where we are at the moment.
Mhm.
And be like the June 2023. So we'll be slower pace than what we were doing before, but it's more money. Not from that.
Is your mic on?
My mic is not.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh dear, your mic is going in and out.
No, I coughed, so I turned it off. and I
Okay.
forgot to turn it back on. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Glad it's not the system. Okay.
Just-
Anything?
My system.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well, we'll adjourn. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.